Hey, this is Josh.
And this is Sam. Welcome to Star Wars Deep Digging, where apparently we're doing this episode at a different angle.
Oh, let me just. That's. Okay, let me.
Nope. Here. There we go. There we go. Normal angle.
And. And fixed. Alright, let's just get right into it. Mayo shakes Kate by the neck back and forth, inchoate, a font of black and sour emotions, all articulated in a guttural rendering of snarls and roars. Gabe makes the noises one produces while being throttled by a homicidal abyssin. You stole from me, Mayo screams into Gabe's face, and the Chatterfan feels her fur blast back and gather the moisture from Mayo's breath. Gabe squeaks in violent desperation, motioning to Mayo's clenched fist around her neck. I can't tell you anything if you keep crushing my windpipe. Gabe tries to squeak, but instead she squeaks only, squeak. Speak, yells Mayo, and Gabe motions more frantically to Mayo's contact with their throats. Mayo realizes what he's doing, and how it may impede upon Gabe answering his question, and lets her go. Gabe falls to the dark, cool stone of the tunnel floor. Friend, Gabe squeaks. Friend, I never would I ever steal from a friend. I do not see how one could survive a place such as this without friends. My friend the muff tack, however, and in a hot flash, Mile remembers the whiff of the muff tack from the night previous, and with both of his massive fists, pounds the wall over Gabe's head. Bits of rock dust fall on her fur. She covers her head in case anything bigger comes down. It doesn't. When Mile exhausts himself, he says, I'll kill him, heaving with heavy, angry breath. Then something happens in his head. Gabe could swear she actually saw it happen. Mayo. Gabe keeps watching. Oh, says Mayo. Mayo then thinks for a moment, which, being Mayo, maybe stretches beyond what either of us might reasonably consider a moment. Oh, no, he trails off. The drink. Hard to remember sometimes. I think... Oh boy, thinks Gabe. Maybe I owed him some money? Maya sinks against the wall. Opposite. Gabe exhales. Today she lives. Well, I wouldn't be so quick to presume that. Still shouldn't have stolen from me, he says. Then looking up to Gabe. We should probably find the Jasper before he finds you two and kills you. With that, Maya lumbers off toward daylight. Gabe falls. Not so certain she'll survive the day after all. Somehow, impossible though it may seem, there lives a creature with even worse luck than all the aforementioned combined.
I just thought of this. Mayo's saying to Cabe, you stole from me. Cabe's like, I didn't do that. Then, after they think a moment through, Cabe finally says, think it through, Mayo. It seems Muff Tack has been a bad talls.
Nice reference. There lives a creature with even worse luck than all the aforementioned combined. A Rhodian who considers himself not only a small-time loan shark in the Ascendant, but also a bounty hunter of great talents and prospects. If he has ever managed to collect a loan or a bounty as of yet, in fact, as if he had ever hunted anything successfully there at matter, no one can tell you the tale with absolute certainty. Okay, this is where these short stories get a bit inconsistent because we know Greedo is a successful bounty hunter. We saw it in the last two stories. Okay, this... Moving on. What anyone knows about this particular Rhodian is, he is an idiot with a gun. At least that's consistent. A place like the Mos Eisley Spaceport bloats with the number of idiots with guns prowling its corridors, so this somehow renders him even more unremarkable, unless for whatever reason he points it at you, in which case, brother, good luck. His name, Greedo, fits him with an ironic appropriateness, suggesting that nurture and nature traipse together, conspiring against us all in a fait accompli, hand in unlovable hands. I don't know, Greedo the Elder seems like a pretty nice guy. Greedo's hands are particularly unlovable, with their long tendril fingers and weird little suckers on the tips. Hey, don't be slandering Rhodians like that. And at this particular moment in our story, he pokes one sad, dangly, puckered protuberance into the chest of Liren Karin, the Biff horn player, minus one horn, the musician who loves music but hates musicians, the poor sucker who cannot pay off the loans he owes to, of all beings, Greedo. Liren Karin has a secret. He planned on selling the legendary quill horn of his father, Liren Da'avi, that morning anyway. Liren Karin hates playing in a band. He hates his bandmates, he hates his band leader. He hates the endless, restless lifestyle of a professional itinerant where the only constant is discomfort. Well, yeah, you're in Java's Palace will do that to you. Never could he ever have imagined anything in the galaxy that could rob the joy of music from him. But it turns out that living the life of a musician did the trick. At least, that's what he tells himself. But the horn could be converted into money.
Look, Biff guy, if you hate the modal node so much, why don't you just quit?
Nice one. But you do realize that's exactly what he was planning on doing, right? That's...
Wait, he was planning on doing that? Oh. Well then. I got nothing.
That the horn could be converted into money he could use to repay what he owes the shifty Rhodian loan shark. What loan shark was only happenstance. Behind Greedo stands the pig-nosed man and the walrus-faced man, who everyone save Greedo knows to avoid. They project a sense of actual menace that the always this side of desperate Greedo lacks, no matter how hard he tries. Payday, Biff, Greedo gargles in his native tongue. I don't have it. Next week, said Liren Karin, as if none of this would be remarkable or create any need for raised tones and physical violence. As far as Liren Karin can figure, there is no way around it. Greedo wants a thing he simply does not have. All Liren Karin could do would be to somehow figure out how to acquire the money he owes that doesn't involve pawning his father's instrument, which he no longer possesses. Greedo pokes him harder, managing to push Liren Karin into the wall. And why should I provide you clemency? Well, I'm surprised Greedo even knows that word. Why should I show you mercy? A debt is a debt. The terms were that I would be paid in full by you today. He yells, I cannot, Greedo, for I literally have no... He turns his pockets inside out to show the Rhodian. Money at all. I was robbed last night, you see, and... Greedo yaps in frustration. He gets closer. I shall only raise your interest rate to 35% and choose to let you live, he hisses. You are very lucky. I do not feel very lucky, Liren Karin says. Well, you are, because today is the day Greedo levels up. Wait, did he just use video game lingo?
Yeah, I think he did.
Well, I mean, video games canonically exist in the Star Wars universe. Anyways. And I don't have the time to chase broke little hustlers like you up and down the spaceport. The pig-nosed man and the walrus-faced man share a smug chuckle, the sound of two bullies about to remove the pocket change from an unknowing and smaller child. Liren Karin can't help but laugh at the idea of a hopeless case like Greedo belonging to the same class of violent criminal as these two. And yet, by association, Liren Karin can only assume this is the kind of reputation the Rhodian wishes to cultivate. This is the kind of thing to which Greedo aspires. These two chuckling, violent morons radiate Greedo's dream vibe. Hey, Cornelius Evazon is actually surprisingly intelligent. Wanda Baba, maybe not so much. Greedo tugs at his blaster, but it catches in its holster, and needing a second hand to extract the thing. The maneuver, so incompetent in its perfect Greedoian absurdity, strikes Liren Karin as laughable. And thus he laughs again, rather than doing what any sensible creature would do when an idiot attempts to draw a weapon on them, only for the thing to get stuck, which is run. The laughter only makes things worse. Before Liren Karin knows it, Greedo pushes the unstuck blaster into his chest, keeping the Bith at bay in place against the wall. The gun shivers in Greedo's hand, quivering in anticipation of firing. Today I capture or kill the most wanted man on Tatooine. Today I make my name in the court of Jabba the Great. Today I collect my first fortune. Every time he says today, he jabs the pistol harder into Liren Karin's already concave chest in a way impossible to consider anything other than hostile. Liren Karin cannot stop looking at the gun and snickering. It all feels so remote and surreal. Stop it! Greedo shouts, poking the gun into him one last time for emphasis. Liren Karin, actually hurt and actually annoyed now, shoves Greedo's gun hand out of his way as if to say knock it off, and he slaps it to the side, which sends the lithe little green self back into the pig-nosed man. Well, Greedo lost a fight to a musician. Sorry, I'm really reaching for material today. My bad. The walrus-faced man chugs like a motor igniting. Why do you keep calling him that? Do you not know what a dequalish is? And rams the bat back into the wall, keeping his massive left arm pressed under Liren Karin's chin.
They're going for the original 1977 vibe, back when the movie first came out.
Okay, I get that, but then why use terms like Sakian, which nobody back in 1977 knew? It's just a bit inconsistent, you know?
They're mixing modern with 70s continuity.
Why? Anyways. The walrus-faced man chugs like a motor igniting and rams the bat back into the wall, hard, keeping his massive left arm pressed under Liren Karin's chin, and a long-last fear ignites inside Liren Karin, floods through his body all at once, lightning and fire and panic. Orp, 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 orps the walrus-faced man. 12 systems, Pig-Nosed Man corrects. Liren Karin feels throttled by genuine panic-inducing fight or flight fear now. Madness radiates off these two, and Greedo wears bad luck around him like a cloud of fart, like ambient surface radiation. You know, you don't normally expect to see the word fart in... Anyways. Like a haunting aura of actual garbage. Mere proximity guaranteed his bad luck would contaminate you, too. And closer to now than later. You know, that would explain a lot. Maybe the pig-nosed man and the walrus-faced man don't know, but Liren Karin knows. And Liren Karin now finally wants to run, but cannot. Alright, says Greedo, touching the walrus-faced man, who frees Liren Karin from the wall. Silence then. Karin looks from one to the other, and they all stare at him. The silence holds, and holds. Can I have until next week then? I said to Liren Karin. Greedo holsters his pistol once more, and mutters in the affirmative. Karin sees, along the length of the barrel of the thing, a little wisp of a prayer Greedo has scratched into its gunmetal surface. The word solo. Desperate and crazy. As far as the Mufta can tell, the pig-nosed man, called Dr. Evazan to his pig-nosed face, but never in his absence, has no friends, except for the walrus-faced man, called Ponda Baba, and same, and even so, they probably don't like each other very much. Well, I mean, the Dr. Afro comics would contradict that, but they hadn't come out yet, so... They have only managed... Well, okay, they hadn't reached that point yet. They have only managed to not kill each other yet because it's 50-50 how a fight would go down between them. A pair of psychotically entangled parasites. I mean, I'm pretty sure Ponda Baba would win. The pig-nosed man lives life in a constant state of pain and anger. No one quite knew what exactly Evazan did to himself or why, but it managed his face, split his nose, and made him quite impossible to deal with rationally. To mitigate the perpetual agony his wounds cause him, the Mad Doctor relies on a constant alternating barrage of narcotics and physical violence, and a man with no friends except for a walrus-faced man has great difficulty finding the first, and far too much ease finding the second. The result of the cycle is this. No one wants to sell Dr. Evazan his drugs, because Dr. Evazan tends towards dumb and dangerous behavior no matter what level of illicit substances flow through him. This life will not end well for the Doctor. Hard to believe he hasn't been permanently killed off yet. The Muftak hustles too hard to hold his hose shut at such an opportunity. He worked himself into a semi-regular arrangement as an intermediary. Evazan gives the Muftak a cool 1,000, and less his danger surcharge in breaking the law expenditure, the Muftak pays the balance to the smuggler, who, knowing better than to ask who or ask why or who for of his customers, converts the money into the anodyne chemical compounds the good doctor. Alright, let's check something. I think that'll hold out. Chemical compounds the good doctor seeks, minus his own not inconsiderable shipping and handling charges, then delivers them to the Muftak, who delivers them to the doctor and hopes this will not be the time their arrangement gets him killed. I had to drop my cargo, pal. Sorry, says Han Solo. Puerile interference. He shrugs. Nothing could have been done then. Nothing can be done now. The Muftak might as well yell at the sun. Either sun. It won't help. So, in a way, Jabba and Evazan are connected because they both wanted Han Solo's spice that he no longer has. But, the Muftak panic tweets, my client! I took his money, you took his money, then upon delivery he paid me a completion bonus and hazard stipend as per our agreement. You owe me his money. You owe me my money that he will not pay me now, as I will not provide him with the goods and services he requires. What are you going to do about this, Solo? Solo turns to the Wookiee, who barks and growls and snorts a pigeon translation. Well, Solo says, nothing. Unless you want to take it up with the Empire, we lose this round. This does not help calm the Muftak. Everybody loses sometimes, even me. But I lose every time, the Muftak bleats out, banging his big furry fist on the table. The Wookiee puts his bigger, furrier fist on the table too, because some things you can say without saying anything sometimes, even if you can't say anything at all. The Muftak inhales and then exhales. The temperature at the table lowers as quickly as it rose. The Muftak imagines Evazan doing to his face what was done to his own. He imagines Ponta Baba shoving all of his eyes in all at once. He imagines them both coming upon Cabe, helpless and alone without the Muftak's protection, blind to the daylight, dying of heat, and then dying of them. He cares about her. Alright, I need to stop doing that. It's getting overused. He turns to Chewbacca. Could I implore you at least this? Come with me as I explain to my client our shared predicaments in the hope that his fury, and make no mistake, there will be great fury, might find itself diminished by the sheer majesty of your great physical presence? The Wookiee snorts. He probably means yes. I mean, in hindsight, if Chewie had just taken out Evazan and Ponta Baba, he probably could have. It would have saved everyone a lot of trouble. Stop me if you've heard this one before. A Chadra fan, a Bith, a Sakian, an Abyshin, an Aqualish, a human, a Rodian, a Wookiee, another human, and a Muftak walk into a bar. All of them trying to rip one another off at best and kill one another at worst, more or less. The Muftak freezes. Well, I mean, in some cultures, such as the Mandalorians, killing one another is actually considered the better option, and ripping each other off the worst ones. No accounting for taste. The Muftak freezes, and every head as his usual table turns to him. Some faces look happy, others furious. Only the Sakian speaks. Come, friends, join us. Not the Muftak's first choice. He finds the reception awaiting him at the usual table a complicated array of responses. No one, it would seem, feels terribly happy he has come. Except Cape, of course, who figures her odds of dying in the near future have dropped at least a little bit. Jasper gets up, as does Nern Karn, ensuring that the Muftak cannot leave the table with any great ease. Quite a day you've had. I'm doomed, the Muftak says. Rightfully so, shouts Mile. Gentlemen, keep your heads, says to Jasper. Mile, I took from you a pawnable thing of value to reimburse what you owed me in losses. It was not mine to take, but I was owed. Hissing now through gritted teeth, hoping it reduces his volume, Mile leans over. It was not yours to take. I just. The Muftag looks around to his compatriots. Did I not just say, yes, Mio, yes, it was not mine to take. In my defense, I collected on debt. I might have had the money. You don't know. The Muftag honestly hadn't considered this. Did you have the money? Mio, a terrible liar, lies. Maybe. Can we address perhaps a larger point, Mio? Says Laren Karn, turning his fury on the Furious One. In that I, in my cups, made a foolish decision and you chose to exploit it? Profit from it, you mean, Mio says, and laughs. He looks to the others to join in, yet they do not. The ugly truth among them all finds its place at the table now. The fragility of their civility to one another radiates in the dank alcove of their booth. I am particularly doomed, the Muftag says, today especially. Sounds of agreement, to varying degrees and with varying levels of enthusiasms, issue forth from his cohorts. Why today of all days? Why not yesterday? Why not tomorrow? Solo wet his pants at the sight of an Imperial garbage barge and dropped cargo. Some of that cargo was mine, owed to someone else, and now they're going to kill me. And if they don't, they're not paying me the balance owes, which means someone else will kill me as I find myself frantically embarrassed at the moment and direly in need of some liquidity. The Muftag squirps, motioning to Mile and Laren Karn as he does, the subtext being to pay these gentles back what they are owed, even though, strictly speaking, none of them are owed anything, not really. All of which is to say, I have no idea how to resolve the issue of the horn or how to reimburse those who demand and deserve adequate recompense. He dropped your cargo, to Jasper says, and yet he kept mine. Han Solo had Solo been searched, and searched thoroughly by these admirals of the Imperial Refuse Fleet, possession of the cargo he brought me would have brought him a death sentence. And yet, to Jasper lets the notion hang in the space among them. The Muftag looks at the ceiling, dingy and stained and encrusted with filth generations old. I wonder how old it is. And bleats a noise that sounds, oddly enough, as if it came from the clue horn that started this whole mess. What's your point? Han Solo likes you better than me. You have more friends than me. Fine, great. You are a beloved figure to Jasper. I'm already dead. I just don't know it yet. I am merely intrigued. Solo made a choice. Perhaps not a moral choice, but an ethical one. Interesting contrast, those. Jasper says in response. Perhaps he considers me a threat, so he decided not to drop my contraband. Perhaps he considers you you are the Muftag. The Muftag bangs his head on the table. You are not a killer, is my point. Maybe the medications you provide Dr. Evazan. The Muftag snaps his head up. That arrangement was supposed to be discreet. Everybody knows. Sorry. Those at the table agree, demure as they can manage, but agreeing all the same. The Muftag drops his shoulders a little more, thoroughly and totally defeated. As bad a drug dealer as he is a card player, a money haver, a life liver. One moment, says Laren Karn. You're not giving him narcotics now, are you? Today? No, because Solo dropped cargo. I have nothing to give. Clicks the Muftag. Why? Greedo the Rhodian is making a play for Solo. Pondababa and Evazan are backing it. I thought for a moment of an Evazan blitz to the gills who would make a violent situation only more violent, and was relieved he shall be without. Though saying it out loud, I'm not so certain. Which Evazan is better, medicated or not? I need a drink, says Cabe, and she escapes under the table to approach the bar. So in case you wondered why she was chirping in that scene, now you know. I am going to die, the Muftag says. Well then, Muftag, on the precipice of death, what sort of creature shall you be? One who values friends or profits? By which code have you lived? The Muftag wiggles his wee trunk back and forth. He looks around the bar. He sees all sorts. Friends, fiends, foes, financial prospects, and liabilities. All of whom would just as soon gut him and rob him blind as reach down to help him, he is sure. Well, at least there's an equal chance. And then, as always, he sees the best part of a place like Mos Eisley and is filled with a new hope. A teenage girl enters.
Sex blind too, huh?
Dude looks like a lady. Looking around, eyes wide-eyed as dying stars, skin radiant with the flush of youth, the Muftek knows she's never been here before because she tries bringing her golden interpreter droid with her. An old man who should know better follows. The Muftek looks at this girl and tries to imagine how much money she and her ancient father could have between them, how much he could swindle or steal. Hey, Obi-Wan's old enough to be Luke's grandfather. Well, I mean, okay, maybe not quite that old, though he certainly looks that old. The prospect of fresh work, of a new project, a new mark, excites him. Oh yeah, that would not have ended well. The Muftek looks to Liren Karn. Liren Karn, I should never have accepted your father's horn from Mayo. Banging the table in protest, Mayo turns, accepted? Sometimes I think about how Mayo, despite being a massive idiot apparently, well, he understands Muftek's language well enough to pick out individual word choice. Have you listened to a Tal speak? That is impressive. Let him finish, De Jasper says. All of us knew that horn meant more than whatever payday it represented. We should have watched out for it, all of us, and for you, and for one another, and we didn't. I think maybe this is what separates us from the animals. Tactically, Muftek, I believe your kind may be animals, says De Jasper. What's the best word to describe that attitude?
Speciesist?
Yeah, let's go with that. Nobody likes a pedant, the Muftek says. You are not a pedant, you are a know-it-all, Mayo says, and snarls. As Mayo's intellectual prowess impresses no one, at least of all himself, the table finds itself collectively surprised. We are all just money to one another, that is all. Today or tomorrow, one day, one of us will be a payday to the other, and we will pounce. I took your stupid thingy, Liren Karn, yes. And I knew you were drunk, and I knew you would want it back, and I knew I could get money I didn't have for it. Just as the Muftek knew the same and took it from me, and we would both do it again. I'm not so sure, says De Jasper, looking at the Muftek. This is the way the world works, interjected Liren Karn, especially in Mos Eisley. Life is cheap, clue horns are expensive, and clue horns are cheaper, and money is expensive. I propose a wager, friends, says De Jasper. I say Han Solo lives to see the other side of this day, despite unfavorable odds, because he is a man with friends. I say Greedo does not collect his bounty, for Greedo has no friends but for those he pays. The table considers, the table wonders what. Alright, cue the cynics who are going to make some smug, passive-aggressive comments about mocking the concept of the power of friendship, yada yada yada. But yeah, Greedo could have used some more friends. He would have turned out much better. Let us wager on the nature of the universe. Who wins, the man with friends or the man seeking profit at all cost? If I'm right, Liren Karn, I will pay your debt to Mayo. Mayo, I will pay your debt to the Muftek. Muftek, I will pay what you and Kabe owe Cave, Oak, Mina, and Rex. And if I'm wrong, well, Greedo will kill Solo, Evazan will kill the Muftek, or Chelman will, or hell, maybe even Mayo. Mayo will figure out that Cave took the horn from the Muftek and pawned it, and will probably kill her, being robbed of the chance to kill the Muftek. And Liren, your debt will remain unpaid, so Greedo, confident with a Wookiee pelt across his chest and Solo's scalp nailed to his wall. Yikes. Mental image. Will inflict great pain, if not actual death, upon you, for he is now a killer, and killers can never stop once they've started. That's a very Jedi way to look at it. He'll drain you like a shallow dug well, and when you're dry, he doesn't need to finish the sentence. Still, I think, even with Evazan and Greedo, backing him up, Evazan and Ponte Bawa backing him up, Greedo could kill Han, maybe, but Chewie? No chance. And I will have to find a new cohort to associate with, which is a shame, as I'd come to enjoy this table, for all its foibles. The gathered work through the scenario De Jasper has laid out, and they realize one at a time that he has spoken with unerring accuracy. The Muftek sighs. I leave now to see a pig-nosed man about a dropshipment of illicit narcotics. He turns, then pauses. I am sorry, Liren Karn. I am sorry, Mayo. De Jasper raises his glass to the Muftek. Wandering through the Mos Eisley crowd, no one feels more friendly, endless in its dim and cool confines than the Muftak. He senses something in his palm. A drink handed to him by Kate. You look like you needed more than me, friend, she squeaks. And he does. So he drinks. It is cold and smooth and good. It is relief in a tall blue cup. Maybe Jasper is right after all. At the bar, keeping an eye on the door and one assumes Ponda Baba, stands Dr. Evazan, and next to him Ponda Baba. Down a piece stands Chewbacca, ready to play backup to the Muftak as promised, but stressing an expectant space between them being held. The Muftak knows for the Muftak himself. All he can do is insert himself there and explain to the psychopaths that he doesn't have their drugs or their money. He chooses to steady his nerves with the drink before getting probably murdered, and in the time it takes him to start snuffing the thing down, his protuberant gullets, the teenage girl, and the odd man take that space at the bar at his place. Looks 19, almost 20. He shouldn't look like... Anyways. The Muftak sighs. The only thing worse than waiting is being made to wait when you've resolved to do something after you've finished waiting, but now have no control over how long that waiting must last. Again, relatable. He responds in the only sane way possible. He drinks slower. Before he's gotten even halfway done, the Aqualish lunatic attacks the teenage girl at the bar. Before this registers with anyone in Mos Eisley as anything outside of the positively banal and predictable, the old man ignites the air and slices into Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan with pure light before they can lay a hand on his daughter's flowing flaxen locks. The chaos lasts half a second longer until the air stops sizzling, and the old man and his wee lass head off after Chewbacca toward the smuggler's table, away from the downed lunatics. Chewbacca offers the Muftak a shrug. Seriously, wee lass? What are they, British? Sometimes these things take care of themselves. Greedo, behind the old man and the Wookiee, watching his hired muscle bleed out on the cantina floor, feels his luck shift beneath his feet. Greedo remains too stupid to turn back, and Muftak knows the feeling. The Muftak returns to the table where Liren Karan sieves, watching the band play, and Jasper looks delighted. Did you know that was going to happen? He clicks. No. Isn't it amazing? Says Jasper, who is indeed genuinely delighted. Jasper rises to allow the Muftak back into the corner seat, keeping Cabe and the Muftak pinned in between the lamenting Liren Karan and the angry Mayo. I should be up there, the Biff says. Where? The bar? You wish to fight as well? Asked Mayo, attention going to the mild outbreak of excitement, as though the smell of blood holds a tractor beam only Abyssin can feel. What? No, the stage. I should be playing, he says. I thought you hated music, said the Muftak. I hate being a musician, comments Liren Karan in a moment of clarity. Is there a difference? Loves the job, hates the limelight. The Biff leans around to look at the band on what passes for a stage in this dump, playing their jaunty, syncopated trademark tune. One fills your hearts, the other breaks it, Liren Karan says. That's insane, says the Muftak. How can anything so beautiful be a burden? You have a gift, a true gift. Had I any sort of talent for anything, A blaster cry breaks the din of Chelman's cantina, and Greedo, in a booth with Han Solo, slumps over, smoldering dead. Everyone turns to stare. Okay, so we are fairly certain that Han did indeed shoot first. A blaster. Just one. Everyone turns to stare, except for Jasper, who stares at the Muftak. He smiles. The Muftak scratches his head. With Greedo, Evazan, and Ponda Baba out of the picture, you are out of fortune, he clicks at Jasper. Jasper shrugs. Why are you smiling? You've lost the bet, and now, all of us at least something. I know you do well as a tracker, but none of us do that well. Jasper reaches beneath the table and from behind his legs brings up the clue horn of Liren Da'avi, who gave it to his son Liren Karan, who lost it to Mayo, who lost it to the Muftak, who lost it to Cabe, who sold it to a scrapper, who sold it to him. He places it on the table and everyone shuts up for a second. Now that, says Mile, is a funny joke. Okay, I'd make a comment about Mile having a sense of humor, but really I need to stop just making statements that are super obvious if you take even a moment to think about things. Night. The knot of the day's events wound and unwound themselves around the necks of many. Some escaped, some did not. Still yet others wanted to get home in one piece. The Muftak sits at the bar, drinking, each gulp relief, each sip sweeter and savored more than the last. He finds himself filled with a romance and sentiment toward everything on this particular night. The Muftak, having found himself in love with the entire world, keeps drinking. Fortune eventually smiled upon him some, at least a little bit, at the sabacc table with his friends. First confirmation that sabacc is played on Tatooine. He had put aside some half of what the Muftak and Cabe and he's put aside about half of what the Muftak and Cabe owed to Chalman to stay in the pipes, and is imbibing the rest, raising glass after glass to the prospect of living to see another day. Nothing tastes as good as the drink Cabe gave him in the bar that afternoon, but the Muftak intends to keep tasting until he finds its equal. When he almost falls off the stool, the Muftak gets cut off, as he rises and staggers in the first of many unstable, uncertain steps toward home, and finds himself supported by Leon Karan, who escorts him, with great care, with great concern, toward where he'll sleep, in the tunnels below their feet, dreaming endless dreams of all tomorrow's scores, each one more certain than the last to be the one that turns it all around. Turns out that sometimes friends take care of one another, even in a place like Mos Eisley, and that makes all the difference in the world. Added Muscle by Paul Dini. Well, Paul Dini of Batman well, he's written for so many different cartoons. Jabba had said to meet him at Docking Bay 94. Or told me it was a collection job and he needed some insurance. Why don't I get the duds to be dragged along and confirm this? Not a pro in the lots. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy the whispers of surprise when I walked into the scene. That's right, boys. Fats here. Do me a favor and fall to the side after you hit. I really don't want to trip over your idiot corpses once the shooting starts. Sorry if the shooting starts. No reason to get excited yet. Makes me think of some guy playing bounty hunter, and it's hard to put into words the vibe that Boba gives off here. Okay, look, there are two ways this is going down. One, we have a nice little chat, Jabba gets his money from Solo, and we all leave happy. Two, someone gets anxious, zip zip, Jabba's rid one deadbeat, and I get a new scalp for my collection. No guesses which one I prefer. Yeah, he does have a surprisingly large collection of Wookiee belts. It's not a healthy habit.
I think some of those are Padawan braids, too.
Oh, yeah. Seriously, Boba, stop collecting hair. It's creepy. Originally, I wasn't supposed to be a part of this. That's what I get, I guess, sticking around Tatooine to snag some Imperial coin. I was supposed to be off this dust ball yesterday, but I picked up trooper buzz that Vader was looking for a couple of runaway droids. You know, there was actually an old fan theory that Boba Fett was the one who killed Owen and Beru, but there was never any evidence for that, even before it was officially confirmed to not be the case. Figured I'd collect the bounty and square myself with the head man at the same time. He's still got a mad on over those rebel spies at Kriston Coruscant. Idiots came out with ion disruptors. What, they thought I wouldn't carry a weapon accelerator? Flash boom, 3 tiny ash piles. Tried to collect and ward no disintegrations. Refused to pay without bodies. My word's not good enough, apparently. Reckon I'd make up the loss by finding his droids and holding out for twice the reward. I'm struggling to find things to reference this episode. Because, come on, we all know what Coruscant is and what disruptors are.
Yeah.
Okay, if you don't know, disruptors are just guns, laser guns that disintegrate people. It's not that hard to figure out. No go on that. Trailed one until its footprints were wiped out by a Jawa sandcar. Followed those treads away until I found someone had wiped out the Jawas too. Someone, meaning amateurs, trying to fake a Tuscan raid. Probably stormtroopers, judging by the random blast shots. Some might call them precise. Me, I say they can't end up butting into the bantha.
Amateurs.
Let's start a drinking game. Take a shot every time there's a meta joke about stormtroopers having bad aim. At least they had brains enough to take out everyone who had seen the droids. Hard luck on the sizzled hicks I found at that torched moisture farm. Had a look-see and discovered there were 3 settlers living there now too, betting the 3rd ran with the droids. I'll hunt around after I'm done here. Vader may triple the bounty if I bring in the fugitive along with the droids. Yeah, I know, intact corpse, no disintegrations. Imagine a what-if where Obi-Wan fights Boba Fett. That would be a sight. Till then, here I stand, adding some credibility to the collection of bums and bugs Jabba calls muscle. Figures he'd want us to shake down Solo, the biggest loser in the galaxy. I could just plop him for target practice, but I never work for free. Twerp? You really gonna call me that, Solo? He called everyone twerps, Boba. Stop making this about you. Back it up with your blaster, Wook hugger. Another species said, Boba is the worst. Well, at least at this point in his life he is. Come on, man, be more mature. You're like 32.
He starts becoming mature once he reaches 70.
Really, I thought he started becoming mature in his early 40s, though he certainly looks a lot older than 40 in that show. I'll twerp your guts all over that sorry heap of junk you call a ship. Easy, furball. Pause where I can see them. No one's throwing down just yet. Still, if you want to start something, sure I can shift my gun a little, move the braids where you can see them. There you go. You like that? Take a good look. Friends of yours, maybe? Family? Smart critter. No reaction. Play it cool. Meanwhile, Solo plays for time. Same old song and dance. I'll pay you tomorrow for a charter I'm taking today. Garbage. I'll run at the first chance and I'll chase him down. Fine by me. The more I work, the more I'll make Jabba pay for the pirate's head. Not that I really have anything against the big slug. His money is just as good as anyone's, and better than most. But business is business, and we both know to press the advantage when we have it. Mama Fred didn't raise any fools. Strictly speaking, my mama was a birthing pod, but you get the point. Still, I can't help but think Jabba considers me the closest thing he has to a friend. Do we need to clarify that Boba Fett is a clone? Is that common knowledge at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, closer anyway than that creepy suck-up Fortuna and that shrieking varmint he keeps for a pet. Some nights when the lights are down in the palace and his scum buddies are snoozing, Jabba pulls out a bottle of his really prime Gardula. Oh yeah, Gardula does have a drink named after her. I always forget that part. Kicks Rebo awake, orders him to play something low and sad, and invites me over to have a few. Okay, so at this point in the timeline, the Max Rebo band are already working for Jabba. So I take out my helmet, but never my gun, and drink as he pours. Back when he was handsome. And the hut talks a lot. Personal stuff, things no one ever hears. Stories of loves lost, enemies crushed, deals brokered then broken, regrets, possibly, things that eat his soul. He's got one. Of course, I don't understand a word he says, but the drink is good and the company, considering what Jabba pays, is tolerable. Well, if you don't understand what he says, how do you even know what... That's the joke, isn't it? I'm missing the point of the joke by explaining it. I am the worst today. What, we're done? Jabba actually gave Solo an extension. Unbelievable. And after Solo fried Greedo and tromped on the slug's tail to boot, Jabba's getting soft. Either that or he figures Solo's got ties to...
I told you Han stepped on Jabba's tail.
I still insist that that was just a collective hallucination of everyone involved. Seriously, just retcon Jabba to have been a hologram in this scene. It'll fit so much better with the timeline. Either that or he figures Solo's got ties to people with deeper pockets. Must be that. The Hutt can smell money. Well, that's as good an explanation as any. And he never misses a trick. You lead a charmed life, Solo, and I'd very much like to change that. You too, look. That auburn scalp of yours will make a fine trophy. Someday. Right now, Java just said Bosca, and when the boss says Bosca, we Bosca. As long as he's in a generous mood, I'll hit him up for a mug of that fine brew. After today, I could use one. Mm. You Owe Me a Ride by Zoraida Cordova. Bria Tonica couldn't remember where she was. Not at first. The stale stench of wine and lingering Haliab perfume on her skin helped her focus on the cracked bedroom walls smeared with stains, the origins of which she didn't want to try to guess. Still hungover, she recoiled from the noonday rays filtering through her window and let herself sink back into the hard mattress. Try as she might, she couldn't keep out the cacophony of merchant chatter and hissing transports. Over the years, Bria and her sister had stayed in some funky places, but the best room for Ren and Mos Eisley's dusty port was only a fraction better than pitching a tent on one of Tatooine's vast sand dunes. The door opened and Bria reached for the blaster on the nightstands. "You're finally up," Sunny Tunica said. Bria and Sunny Tunica were alike in so many ways. They shared the same lean, muscular legs and braided dark hair, the same wide, expressive eyes and that roguish smirk when they set their sights on a mark, but the resemblance stopped there. Sometimes Bria wished she could charm strangers the way Sunny could with just a turn of her lovely head. Sunny was tall and her hair made her appear even taller. Alright, so they're not identical. She found power in being able to look down at nearly anyone when negotiating contracts. Contracts that lately were few and far between, and fulfilling them not made easier at the arrival of Imperial troops snooping around. Bria sat up and grabbed a rope from the floor. "Please tell me it's not more flatbread and beans." Cindy kicked off her boot and hooked her cloak on the back of the door. She threw the fiber bag across the small room. 2 beds, a shower, and a table for their weapons. That's all they needed. "It's not more beans," Cindy said, trying to keep a straight face, as her twin whipped open the footbag of food to find fresh loaves of flatbread. Bria ripped off a piece and shoved it between her lips, still smeared with her favorite metallic lipstick. "I hate this place," she said, finally getting out of bed. She sat at the table covered with blasters and rifles. She picked up her favorite pistol. The metal was the blue of Ithorian roses. I don't think we've ever actually seen blue blasters. "We could stay at the palace," Cindy said. "You know Jabba has always taken a liking to you." "Us," Bria said, chewing rudely to make her sister cringe. And simply because the word palace is in its description does not a palace make. Well, technically it's a converted monastery. "Speaking of overstuffed snot, his royal slug has a job." "What is it?" "If I knew, I wouldn't be sitting here watching you nurse your hangover. I feel perfect." Cindy threw her head back and cackled. "Weren't for me, you would have made out with a Rhodian pirate last night."
Snot. I've heard that word said from a Sith before.
It's a common word. It's a very common word.
Ah.
Just a coincidence, nothing more. Rhodian pirate, though, that's a bit more specific. I wonder what they're talking about. Bria grimaced, trying to recall the night, but there was only darkness. Darkness was bitter than the memories that threatened to push their way to the forefront of her thoughts. Blood and guns and jobs gone so south she wasn't sure she'd ever recover. Memories like that didn't have a place in the present. And so she did as her sister asked and showered, the water tepid and smelling of chemicals she couldn't name. When she was ready, she stood in front of Senny, who, without speaking, quickly zipped up the back of her bodysuit. Each sister carried a pistol at her hip and a knife in her boots. They put on their cloaks and headed out into the dry, suffocating streets, where it was nearly impossible not to inhale dust. They hopped on a speeder and zoomed toward Jabba's palace. Bria and Cindy watched the sun set from atop a rock formation. Tatooine might be a desert wasteland lacking in any culinary delicacies, but few things in the galaxy compared to the brilliance of its sunsets. They really are beautiful. The Tunica sisters, seriously, go back to A New Hope if you got the chance and where you watch that scene, it's great. The Tunica sisters stalked down the cavernous corridor. They led to the dank hall where Jabba held courts. The royal slug's body odor was impossible to miss. Bria always pinched the bridge of her nose until she was able to stand the smells. But Senny wasn't fazed by things like comfort. She wanted to get on with the next job, mainly because their accounts were nearly depleted, and their faces were in every criminal database in the galaxy. So Senny Tunica held her head high, her braids swirling about her broad shoulders like fringe as she walked in. They wore different color suits, Bria's blue and Senny's acid green, and waded through the crowds, returning the cordial nods that were thrown in their directions. That's how you can tell them apart, in the movie itself. Just in case you were having difficulty keeping track, people at home. Jabba was still hidden under shadows, slumbering the way he did no matter how loudly the court bustled around him. Bria ordered 2 Tatooine sunsets. That's also a kind of drink. Drinks in Star Wars have weird names, okay? From a waitress, ignoring her sister's glare, and they picked an empty spot against a wall where they could watch. Ugh, Bria muttered under her breath. Since they were little, they developed a way of speaking without many words. Bria's dark eyes floated across the room where Bib Fortuna stalked around the hand. His bright red eyes sent shivers down Bria's spine. Why does he have red eyes? That's not normal for Twi'leks. Does he have like a spice habit or something?
Yeah, it probably does.
Senny touched her sister's shoulder but steeled her features. Not long. But it was a long time before Jabba deigned to wake up, despite having been the one to call the gathering. No one questioned him. No one complained that they'd been waiting and waiting, or the band was recycling songs it had played when they first arrived. Bria drank another tall orange and pink drink, smiled at a Wookiee with a great scar across his face. Snuvo or Kersantin? Kersantin, probably, right? And watched the Twilight Girl twirl her delicate wrist to the rhythm of the horns. It wasn't the music that woke Jabba, but the growl of the Rancor that lived in the cage beneath his throne. Senny and Bria glanced at each other, then at the other bounty hunters in attendance. There was a moment of stillness. The Max Rebo band were dead silent. A deep grumble echoed in the bowels of the palace. Bria felt her heart quicken, because she knew what would happen when Jabba moved his throne back and opened the hatch. She'd seen hunters and slaves of any and all species plunge into the deep dark beneath and never come out. Instead of feeding his pet, Jabba opened the wide slit of his drooling mouth and laughed.
They say it drags things down, beneath, and they never come back up.
That description would be better applied to the Sarlacc. The Rancor just waits for things to be dropped down and then attacks them when it's at level. Which makes it easier to defeat, easier to kill. Instead of feeding his pet, Jabba opened the wide slit of his drooling mouth and laughed. Gather around, my friends, Jabba ordered in Huttese. He turned his serpent eyes on the band and said, Did I ask you to stop playing? Max set his flat blue digits to pressing the keys of the organ, and an upbeat tune played in the background as every bounty hunter present stepped closer to Jabba's throne. Senny stood in front of her sister, as if she could shield her with her body. She looked from side to side at the others in attendance. Among her peers, she wasn't someone's sister, and she wasn't some orphan. No, she was a hunter and a thief and a smuggler. She was capable of many things, even if Bria was the one whose mugshot was listed in the criminal database for murder. Whatever this job was, Senny wouldn't do it because they needed to get far away where they wouldn't be recognized and their names wouldn't be flagged on scans. Senny would do it. They could get off this world and have what passed as a normal life. For that, they needed credits, lots of them, and only Jabba offered that kind of currency. As many of you know, Jabba began in his guttural voice, but not all of them know, so it's necessary for Jabba to explain. Han Solo lost my cargo. He has ignored my summons. I want him brought to me. My sources tell me he is seeking to get off planet as soon as he can. Whoever brings Solo to me alive will be rewarded. There was a bevy of murmurs. A dark-haired hunter wearing a black jacket looked at Bria and then at Senny, but the sisters kept quiet and waited. The scar-faced Wookiee stepped forward. The sisters didn't understand his wailing speech, but whatever he said made Jabba laugh again. Kersantin was always Jabba's kind of scum. Bria watched the royal slug throw his slimy head back, his tail wiggling happily, and she wondered if he ever stopped laughing. She shifted between the nervous ripple in the crowd because she knew what would come next. Sunny grabbed her sister's hand and they... Oh, wait, no, it's not Chrysanthemum, and I think we know why. Sunny grabbed her sister's hand and they took a step back. The latch opened beneath the Wookiee's feet and his scream was the flat note of a horn. Bring me Solo, Jabba said when the Wookiee's cry died down, and there were only the jingling tunes of the bands and the crunching of bone beneath the Rancor's teeth. Bria and Cindy discussed the job over and over again through the night and into the next morning. I say he won't come with us, Bria said. He can't still be mad about the Lando ordeal. It was his idea. We just heard about that. Okay, so to explain, Han thought it would be a hilarious prank to have Bria and Cindy pretend to be one person and to have that person date Lando, only for them to suddenly reveal to him, surprise, we were actually two people the whole time. I thought this was funny. Lando didn't, and, well, you know. Bria wanted to correct her sister. There were many things that had happened between them and the cocky smuggler. Maybe not friendship, but there was history. When Jabba put out a prize like that, he was pitting a whole lot of rancors against one another. Why shouldn't the sisters be the ones to come out triumphant? It doesn't matter, Bria said. Solo's going to take one look at us and bolt. He won't come willingly. Then we won't take him willingly. Cindy lipped her lips coquettishly. Have you forgotten his Wookiee bodyguard? Cindy, it's Han. If he's got any brains in that thick skull of his, he's already fixing to run. We'll find another job. Cindy crossed her arms and scoffed stubbornly. Oh yeah? When? I don't know, but nothing. When did you go soft for Solo anyway? You've been cursing his name across the galaxy for years. We needed a fast ship, and to get that, we need credits. Someone is going to bring him in. Why shouldn't it be us? I get it, Bria said, her brow furrowed. She was as surprised as Cindy. I have a debt to pay Solo, but I've never been brave enough to go through with it. After all, he was responsible for my greatest humiliation, and that I'll never, ever forget. Okay, not sure what that's referencing. Cindy was startled by her own thoughtlessness. How could she have mistaken her sister's hesitation for concern? It's your call. This could be our chance to have what we've always wanted. In their cramped room in the heart of Mos Eisley, Bria and Senny Tunica faced each other from the edges of their twin beds. What we've always wanted. Freedom, peace, life. Everyone knew how people like them ended up blown up in prison or on the wrong end of a blaster. Or a knife. Or a lightsaber. Then Bria made that face she always made when she was up to no good, because they could have it all. The freedom and the peace of mind, all of it. I have a better idea, she told Senny, who quirked a single brow. This isn't like the time we broke into House Organa's palace to lift the royal jewels and had to hide in a dumpster for 2 nights, is it? House Organa, beautiful place. Hey, one day we'll get to visit it again in Slotor. Probably not, but hey, that was fun. Bria rolled her eyes. For the last time I got a bad tip. How was I supposed to know the housemaids don't wear orange? Or the time enough, Bria said, and this time her sister listens. We can have it all. The ship, the credits, and we won't get our limbs ripped off in the process. How? Let's steal the Falcon.
What about that time on Cater Nemoidia?
The good old noodle incident. I'll explain to you what that means later. When Bria Tunica stepped into Chalmun's cantina, she felt just as she had during her first con back on Kefex. Her palms were sweating and her heart was racing out of her chest. Back then, she and Stenny had been trying to break a friend out of a detention center. Back then, no credits had been involved, just duty. Everything had gone smoothly until a guard came back to his post early and caught them. Bria stayed behind to give them cover, and her sweaty, nervous hands shot to kill. It was only her on the footage. Kind of a connection to their Legends backstory, on Kefex. Plus, it fits better than the retconned Voron Nall stuff. After that, they had no choice but to go off-world, to run and keep running until there came a day when they would have a place to call home that wasn't a dank rented room on a freighter ship. Alright, this goes on for a few more pages, and I think we're getting tired and ready to head to bed, so Alright, any last minute things you need to say to the audience, Sam?
No.
Oh, excuse me. Excuse me so much. Forgive my lack of courtesy. I should not be eating stuff like that so close to. Anyways, okay.